Welcome to the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, a show created to help painting company owners build a thriving painting business that does well over $1 million in annual revenue. I'm your host, Brandon Pierpont, founder of Painter Marketing Pros and creator of the popular PCA educational series, Learn, Do, Grow, Marketing for Painters. In each episode, I'll be sharing proven tips, strategies, and processes from leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their painting business. We will be interviewing owners of the most successful painting companies in North America and learning from their experiences. So Zach, why don't we start with you, man?
Yeah, I'm Zach Kenney from ZK Painting. We are a custom painting contractor based in Boston, specialize in the high-end market.
High-end market organic influencer. Zach is being very modest right now, but we're going to cover some of your social media organic strategies. What's up, Garrett? Super pumped that you could join. Good to see you, man. Garrett, let's do you next, man. Brief intro.
Fantastic. Yeah. So it's Garrett. I own a painting company in southeastern Wisconsin, 2-day painting. We're just going to do a little north of 7.5 million this year. I also own TradesFix. We do direct mail marketing consulting for painting businesses, and happy to be here.
Awesome, man. Super happy to have you here. Michal Cheney, welcome. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brandon. My name is Michal Cheney, and I'm the owner of No Drip Painting out of Columbus, Ohio. And, the way that I look at this business that, of course, I love dearly, the mission for us is really to have impact. And we use our skills as painter to really have an impact in our community.
Very cool. Yeah, you do. You speak at a lot of events. You are spearheading the Women in Paint initiative. PCA, I've personally listened to several of your presentations, always very impactful, and I appreciate you being a part of this panel and this event. Josh, Cody, we just did a whole podcast series together, got to spend a lot of time with you gentlemen. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Josh Joosten, CEO of Sequoia Painting, and this is Cody.
How you doing? Cody Roberts with Sequoia Painting right here in Visalia, California. It's right in the heart of the Central Valley, right in the middle of California. Residential and commercial painting contractor and growing like crazy.
Amazing. So we did just do a full podcast series together. I think actually every one of the attendees here, I've done at least one or multiple podcast episodes with. So if you like what they have to say, check out Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast because we dive really deep into a lot of stuff. Sarah, what is up, Sarah? So happy. I know you started as a panelist, then we had to kick you into attendee mode, and then we were having a hard time getting you back. I'm glad we got you back.
Your team's amazing behind the scenes, Brandon. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, we're all trying to make it work. It's our first one. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. I'm Sarah Ross, owner of 2 Fresh Coat franchises in Austin, Texas. Been in the business 11 years with much more modest growth than Brad mentioned. But Brandon, I am an accountant by trade, so your presentation spoke to me. Great job, Brandon. Excited to be here and honored to be a part of it.
And I love it. I appreciate you guys joining. So we will kick it off with a general question. I'll kind of some questions I'll maybe point to one of you specifically where I know that's going to really be applicable to you. If anyone else wants to input, obviously you're always free to do so. Others I'm just going to kind of lob out there, right? And we'll just answer it and chime in as you see fit. So 2024, what was that year like for you guys? How was it different? How was it the same from 2023? I'd love to just get a pulse check on that.
I'll jump in there, Brandon. I would say the seasonality was definitely different compared to other years. We saw a slow July when we wouldn't have. We saw definitely some difference around the time of the election. It was an interesting year. I'm glad to say we were still able to see about 10% growth, but it was a challenge. And I think, just a quick plug for you too, had we not had Painter Marketing Pros, I don't think we would have seen that growth either.
I appreciate that, Sarah. Appreciate the call out. Yes, you have been working with us for over a year, and it's been phenomenal to see your growth. Who else has commentary on 2024?
Yeah, felt a lot of that same unseasonable, slow time during normally we're going full bore, don't even have time to catch our breath, you know. And a lot of the same things. Leads got real expensive and a lot harder to get, and just made a whole lot more logistic type work for us, you know, to keep the phone ringing and keep the crews with work to get completed. So um, feel pretty good about 25. However, stay optimistic. 25 would have to be a real dumper to outdo the hardships of 24, you know. So we made it through a lot of said we worked a lot harder on the behind the scenes stuff to keep driving in the leads, driving in the phone calls, and uh, making more out of less, you know.
I think that's a great point too. I just want to quickly touch on that because we did just speak about that at length in the podcast. So when there's a dip in lead flow or there's some hardship of some kind like that, Josh and Cody, they do a great job of looking where else can they optimize, how else can they use their resources, their time to improve the business. So they spend a lot of time on their ops and their processes. That means when the leads are picking up, they're obviously still working their marketing and refining that. But when the leads do pick up, now they have a tighter ship, right? They can scale more easily. So there's always an opportunity of some kind if you're looking for it. Garrett, Michael, Zach, what thoughts do you guys have?
I'll jump in there real quick because I think we've had a different experience. We had a great 2024. We had a period of time with our lowest cost per lead ever, cleared down to $30 a lead, which now seems crazy because it's completely jumped up at this time of the year. We had two goals for the year, two major goals, which was lower cost of labor and increase profits, and we did that. So we had a great year, and it was a year of building more structure so that we are prepared to have an even better 2025.
I love it. Yeah, you've been absolutely killing it, Michael. I think you're gonna hit, is it 3 million you're gonna hit? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. So we've been working with Michael and her team. She's doing a phenomenal job on the sales process. If you lean into, I'll be covering in my presentation how to win in a harder year. Michael and Sarah and some of the other people you'll see today are going to be real shiny examples of what to do. Garrett, Zach.
Yeah, so we did grow a little bit. We faced some headwinds with marketing like everyone else in the earlier part of the year. And being in Wisconsin and a swing state, we decided to focus on really developing our team, focus on enhancing systems, but we were still able to grow a little bit. The plan wasn't to grow. I'm hoping to have a big year next year based upon the foundation we built this year. But it ended up being a better year, I think, for everyone than what we were all anticipating early on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Zach.
We actually revenue went down this year and profitability went up. We got a lot leaner, got rid of a big piece of overhead that was hurting me from last year.
We'll leave it at that, huh? Okay. A little growl. Okay.
Not the best hire.
Yeah. Awesome. Guys, thanks for sharing all that. So one of the themes and some people, Michael, you felt really positively about the year. But we all can kind of acknowledge overall for an industry, it was maybe a little bit more challenging in terms of lead flow, cost per lead. There was some hesitancy in the market from the election and inflation and wars and all that stuff makes people uneasy. How do you guys balance staying competitive in a market like that, where maybe the lead flows decline some, maybe the buyers are a little more reticent? How do you balance staying competitive in a market like that while maintaining your profitability, not having this race to the bottom in price?
Personally, I think it's all about the value that you add. We didn't lower our prices at all. Our average sales ratio was about 48% this year. We added a lot of things to add value in the sales process. Like we do things like free touch-ups for life for the customers, free full service color consults, where we even do like the sample painting for customers. We are doing a lot of charity work. We're just really focusing on trying to add as much value throughout the sales process as possible. And we're able to still thrive from a financial perspective. Even though in my personal area, we got hit with historic rainfall for the first half of the year. It was raining like every day. We had a lot of challenges this year that we didn't have, but I think personally, if you run a good business and you really are offering the best value out there, you can get past any environment that you're in.
I would say we were similar to Garrett. We don't really negotiate on our price much either, but we did some client reactivation stuff and also made a strong effort to get reviews so that the customers that were looking for quality painters could see that we were that just by our reviews.
One of the things that we did was reduce our T&M rate to GCs. We don't want to do T&M to GCs anyway. We want to work on a fixed cost. So, but our T&M rate, when you look at what our charge rate is, and just like transfer that to a T&M rate, was like really scaring people. And I was getting more and more feedback about that. So now our fixed cost prices don't change, but the perception in the client in the GC's eyes is that we're not so expensive anymore. And we're looking at T&M as just sort of like, reduce margins, but try not to do much. But now we are perceived as less costly in their eyes.
I love it. Yeah, I think the idea of not negotiating on price, I think, is a strong one. Garrett, I really, really liked your focus on the value add and differentiating. So I think the interior touch-ups for life, did you get that from was that from Nick May? Did you just make that up?
No, I mean, I'm sure there's other people doing it,
Yeah.
but just made up the program and it's been successful so far.
Yeah, I love that, man. I remember hearing it from Nick, I think like 6 years ago. Nick is one of the very few people that I actually don't know, which is odd. But I actually don't know Nick. But I've heard this, and I always talk about it. If I were expanding a painting company, which my wife I think is going to be running one soon, I would be offering that because free interior touch-ups for life, all it is sales calls. You're going out, you cap it at an hour, and what a complete value differentiator, complete free interior touch-ups for life. I'm not going to go down that whole avenue, but that's a real value differentiator. Saying we provide quality services, that's, it's essentially pretend, because everyone's going to say this. So try to find a unique angle, try to find a real value add, and then really sell on that is huge. So the stress, right? So we have, okay, lead flow is a little bit more expensive. People are a little more hesitant to move forward. Well, people can also be a little bit crankier when they're stressed, when we see wars and inflation, and maybe there's some financial hardship in the home, and they did hire you, but now they're being kind of a challenging customer. You have a challenging client. How do you guys deal with challenging clients? We all have them.
You got to lean on your process, right? We talked about that quite a bit in our podcast. That's we try to have all those things in play to, if a customer is going to be cranky, they may just be cranky, but it's not going to be a direct result of anything we did or did not do. Really leaning on those SOPs and making sure all those things are done, that customer journey is being recapped, so if there's was lost information or a misconception somewhere along the way, it's caught as early as possible and not left to drag out, and the customer thinks about it for 2 or 3 days, and then it's a huge deal because they've been festering on it behind the scenes or however. So I think for us that's our big one for customer satisfaction, and dealing with your hard to please or potentially cranky customers is those SOPs, man, leaning on them, just making sure every handoff. I don't know how many handoffs you guys have in your companies. We have quite a few, from the phone coming in to the office manager answering the call to sales guy showing up to color consultation, and then finally the production crew showing up and doing it. Like, there's a lot of room there to forget something, miss something, leave something out, so really having a solid method for those handoffs and making sure it feels like the customer dealt with one person all the way through the process really helps minimize those things that, like you said, Brandon, you are going to get. It's a law of averages and percentages. You're going to get one,
Yeah, I love that. I follow a thought leader named Alex Ramosi. He's big in the marketing space. Some painting contractors know him who are more into the marketing, a lot don't. But I went to a conference, a professional marketing conference he was having a couple months ago, and he talked about rather than having it be a handoff, or rather a warm handoff, make it a warm handshake. And so just the experience, like you said, it seems very consistent. It seems almost as though you're never having to repeat information. You're never getting the sense that, well, I already told them that. Clearly they didn't really care, because that's how they feel. If they're telling you all this stuff and then the next person asks the same question or doesn't, misses it, they're just feeling like it's this they're held kind of along the way. I love that, Cody.
Yep.
I think with customers, the biggest thing is identifying the problems early on and giving them an avenue to safely complain. So we try to do a lot of things to prevent that, obviously, in the beginning, like Josh said, with the SOPs. But, project managers at the start of the job, like, hey, I really want to make sure that you're happy with this job. My role depends upon customer satisfaction. If there's anything wrong at all, like, I want to be the first person you call. I want to make it right, and give them the power to go above and beyond and handle most little things, and possibly even give away some little things to make the customer happy, and try not to let them stew on it.
And that's really great. So in sales, a lot of people think no is a bad thing. You always want to go for the yes. No, it's a bad word. We're all afraid of the word no. You actually want to go for the no in sales, because when you get the no, then you can actually start to address the real objection. And there are objections. That's why we don't close 100%, because people do have objections of some kind. So you go for the no. So Garrett, I think when you're saying basically go for the complaint, give them this safe place. Like, hey, there's probably something we're doing wrong. I want to know if there's something we're doing wrong. And now you're proactively almost probing them for it. You're getting so far ahead of what Cody said, them sitting there stewing on it for 2 days. And now it's a 1-star Google review.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Brandon,
that.
I would say I'd try and kill them with kindness. I think so many of those customers that are difficult customers are difficult for all the trades, not just us. And so they're used to that negative reaction when they get negative. And I think if we can just stay positive, it certainly helps. But I think we need to stand our ground. I think a lot of the difficult customers are coming from watching HGTV, or they see things that may not be real world examples. And if we can stand our ground to our process, kind of like he was saying, SOPs, our process and the reason we do things, and explain that, but stay positive, is the best we can do. I'm not saying I don't curse once I get in the car or off the phone with them, but I don't do it in front of them.
HGTV, that whole thing was supposed to be done during the commercial break. Sarah, your team's so slow right now. Cody, I love your focus on the SOPs too, right? Because it's productizing the service, it's consistent. So if a homeowner comes and says, "Hey, this is terrible," wow, let's revisit. Let's see. These are all the things we're supposed to do. Where did we maybe screw up? If we didn't screw up, then maybe where we screwed up is not setting the expectations up front, or maybe not consistently conveying them, because somewhere along the way, we know what we're going to do. We did it, and yet apparently there's a problem. So it provides an opportunity for either seeing where the problem happened in the delivery, or seeing where the problem happened in the communication.
Yep.
I love that. Anyone else have any thoughts on dealing with best way to deal with difficult clients?
I think the best way is to proactively make sure that they don't become, like, don't let them be. Like in the sales process, a lot of times the red flags start to show themselves with the really bad ones. And being able to, like, either price accordingly. I've had a couple projects where we put massive markups on projects and then just prepare to deal with chaos. And, we're not going to say no. We're going to say, like, hey, if you're willing to pay this massive premium, I will make sure that I'm here to adapt to your way of doing things. But I think, to everybody else's point, like, when you set expectations really clearly, we use mostly subs, and a lot of people on our job sites don't speak English. So there's always someone that does, but it's like a point of tension. So we've been, like, really addressing that with the client and our teams to be like, guys, and like, we started giving them a document. It was like, here's the call list. Like, here's the call me first, call this person second, call this person third. Here's the names of everyone who's going to be on your site, even if they speak English or not, just so, like, they know who they are. And then here's what we're doing, like, this week. And, like, here's what we're doing next week. And just like trying to give them as much information as we can to just sort of get ahead of it. And then when they do show that they're difficult, just like massive attention, just like like so many touch points, just constantly like, all right, we just got to like get this one over the finish line. Like, let's just throw a bunch of like the project manager's effort at it. Because I find like if you can get it back with a ton of effort, then the touch-ups, the blue tape is what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, and ultimately, especially with the residential, the projects really aren't that long. So if it's like, hey, this is a nightmare client, Zach, some of yours might be a little bit longer.
Yeah, but mine are a lot longer, unfortunately.
Yeah, yours extend out. But for the
Yeah.
majority of residential painting companies, it's not going to be longer than a week, 2 weeks. So if somebody's a real pain, and I like you charge a PIA tax there. If somebody's a real pain, you can kind of lean into it and just bite the bullet and try to make the best of it, right? For that week, 2 weeks, or Zach, unfortunately you have longer timelines. Okay, awesome. So with the challenging economy, with a reticent buying market, I do want to emphasize reticent buying market. One of the things that Brad talked about that I'm a very big proponent of is investing into marketing. It obviously is the lifeblood of your business. Sales is the lifeblood of your business. It's how you get sales. So the buying's still happening, but when people are uneasy, the trust factor has to go even higher. And Sarah, one of the things you said is we try to really to get reviews. It's one of the big focuses we've had in 2024 and when things are tough. So what are the ways that you guys, what are the strategies you guys are conducting to build trust with your leads?
We start off by we don't take any deposits. So that grammar still wasn't correct.
That's a differentiator.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just, you hear so many times those horror stories where somebody's given a contractor money and they've run off with it. So we just try and express that we have enough belief in ourselves and the quality of our work that you'll want to pay us in the end. So we try and win them over by explaining that we don't take any deposit. Nothing's due until we're done. Once you're on our schedule, though, you're scheduled. We're going to be there because we've outlaid money at that point, and we're going to be there and get it done on time.
Does anyone else build trust?
I'm a big fan of organic social for building trust. That's that's our big thing for us, is just like, here's a documentary of our company that you can go watch behind the scenes of everything that's happening and know what you're going to get before you pick up the phone or before we ever come on site.
Let's touch on that for a second, ZK, and then I do want to see what other strategies the rest of the panel has. But you are very big into the organic social media. You do things differently. One of the things that you just said that I think can apply to everybody is behind the scenes. We all want to do business with people. We don't want to do business with companies. You do want to have a professional presence out there, but showing photos of the crew, showing photos of the owners, you talking about the company, things like that, it humanizes it. It's like, okay, I think I understand Zach. I think I understand his company. I feel comfortable with them. I'm interested. Not just this professional brand, impersonal. But Z could get into, if you would, a little bit about what you do, because we probably have a lot of attendees that don't know, and it's quite unique.
Yeah, by like 95% of our leads are coming from organic social. And it's, when you follow our Instagram, most of our clients have followed for extended periods of time. They're always like, oh, I've been following you for like X long. They see consistency. They see openness. They see most of our stuff is process. Most of our content is process. It's not finished photos. It just shows like what's happening. Like, if you hire me to paint your kitchen, well, here's what it's going to look like. Here's like all the stuff. And we just beat the drum like over and over and over again. And so that consistency over time is, the number, in my experience, is like, it's probably the number one trust builder, right? In life, in anything, just consistency over time. So the fact that we're able to just like be us, we don't have to put on a show. We just like put a camera on what we're doing. And then just wait is a lot of it. People, by the time they pick up the call, they're just like, my last job, we just finished a great job for a new client. And my project manager, my lead was just like, dude, what's wrong? Like, what's going on with this client? Like, she's just like leaving us alone. Like, oh, the trust was so high that they were like weirded out.
It's awesome. Yeah, and in marketing and sales, you want people to know, like, and trust you. So when they followed you for some time, if Zach's having that conversation, I can promise you his close rate's going to be high. They already feel fully confident in his ability and his team's ability to complete that project.
One thing I think that is very important is just having a lot of reviews online. And we personally have a project map where we can go to the customer's house and see, like, okay, we can show them we've done 20 homes in your neighborhood. These are the homes that we've done. You know, these are the reviews that they left. So we have a tool that syncs all that, and that's really helpful in the field, especially if you've done a lot of work in that area.
Do you use Garrett Nearby Now or a tool like that? What do you guys use?
It's called Project Map It. That's a tool that we use. We really like it. I highly recommend it. It can sync with your website into your sales presentation. Yeah, it does a lot of good. And when you really focus on reviews, we have over 1,000 5-star Google reviews, and that goes a long way to building trust. It's hard for somebody to think that, okay, this company is not legitimate when you have that many reviews.
And the more somebody you're marketing to or selling to, the more they can feel like you've already served them or people very, very similar to them, the more they trust you. So when Garrett's saying, "Hey, we have over 1,000 5-star reviews," but then his sales estimator or sales consultant or whatever Garrett's calling them walks into the door and can actually show, "Hey, all your neighbors have used us. These are all their projects." That trust factor goes through the roof.
I think another thing, just keeping it basic, communication, our
Yeah,
foremans, they are required to communicate on a daily basis in the beginning of their shift, at the end of their shift with the customer, and building trust as simple as when that foreman says, "Hey, I'm going to be here at 7 o'clock," and he's there at 6:50, that speaks volume right there, and doing that for 10 or 15 days that you're into that project, builds a lot of trust with a customer, So I would say a lot of it's communicating with the customer.
Yeah, the communication is so paramount, and it's something so many painting companies and home service companies in general are not very good at. And if the way I kind of think about it, if you logically play this out, if I reach out to an electrician or painter or whoever, and I'm having a hard time hearing back from them, I think that maybe they're coming. I don't really know. There's been no communication since we talked 3 days ago. I think they're coming at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. today. Not sure. Like the cable company, they'll give you these like 4-hour windows and you don't know if they're coming. I don't trust them very much. I'm uneasy. I don't even know if it's going to happen. If that's my experience when I'm trying to pay you, what do you think I'm going to think when things go wrong? If I'm so insecure about you wanting to come take my money, I can only imagine how insecure I'm going to be when you mess something up, and then I'm trying to get you to come back and fix it. There's no way you're going to fix it. So that's what's being conveyed to leads when you're not communicating to them. So Josh, you might have said it's simple. I think it's one of the best things you can possibly do for your companies to have a really consistent, solid, professional communication.
Yeah, on the front end, on the estimating end of it this year, our residential estimator early on getting a little discouraged, when things were supposed to be close to booming time and it was still kind of slow, and he was having that we're too expensive kind of mental block, and we had a conversation. I said, we just need I need a mindset shift from you. We're never going to be the most affordable, quote, right? The most affordable. We're never going to be the cheapest. I hate that word. So don't let that deter you from doing your process. How about let's look at it from my point of view. If I'm a consumer and I have a problem and I have called your company to solve my problem, I need to know all the things that make my hard-earned money worth spending with your company. So even though that doesn't entail some crazy low price point, like I've heard from other contractors, everything you tell me needs to put me at ease that, hey, I may spend a little bit more money here with Sequoia, but I really don't want any problems. And they have basically laid out their process that makes sure that doesn't happen. And so many things I feel in business and in life in general can be controlled by perspective, to put a different perspective on it, take a different angle at it. And he quickly realized, how much just his demeanor and posture really affects that interaction with the customer. You gotta walk in there with confidence that you are the solution. They had a problem. That's how they found you, right? Whether it's peeling paint or whether it's the wife's tired of the color of her dining room, doesn't matter. There was a problem that led to them getting a hold of your company. So as long as that's your main focus, you're the solution. Let's let price be what it is. That's our cost of doing business. And this is everything our business entails when you go on this journey with Sequoia Paint.
Yeah. I think it's a great thing to think that a lot of times the homeowner can do the project themselves, especially maybe not cabinet refinishing, maybe not some of this stuff. Certainly can't do what Zach does, but they could do a simple interior repaint. They can paint their own room. So they're not really buying that from you. That's not what they're buying. They're buying the ease. They're buying the experience. They're buying the fact that you're taking the problem and the headache and you're going to get it done for them in an easy manner. So it's not about, competing. Well, what are we doing? We're offering painting services. Not really. You're offering an experience. You're providing a solution to them. Totally different. Who else has thoughts on this?
I'll just share quickly, Brandon. I think when I think about trust, it's twofold. It's creating a level of trust so that when someone, I'll say, stumbles across you, can immediately feel as though you're reputable, right? And that's where Google reviews, websites, all of those things, social media, telling your story, putting your values out there. But then there's the maintaining trust, which is what you have to do throughout the project, right? And I think that's where, that strong communication and following the processes that you have in place really can help you keep the trust, right? It's gaining the trust, and then when you're there, keeping the trust. We just talked about how do you deal with difficult customers? Well, if you can really hold on to that trust when a difficult situation comes up, you're more likely to get through it in more of a teamwork effort, right? Because you still have that trust. I have noticed that the breakdown occurs when we lose the trust during the project. And it could be something simple. Maybe we said we were going to do something and we didn't follow through with it, or the customer called us and we didn't call them back right away, right? So we try and tighten those things up. But I think that maintaining trust is another important component to kind of consider.
Yep.
Absolutely. I love it. Okay, so we talked about the trust and building the trust. Let's actually talk about what happens after a project. So we're going to go for the review. We know that, talked about that. For Garrett, if we're pursuing his strategy, we're going to actually try to use a software to leverage it proactively in our sales process. Every single one of these projects can be leveraged directly into another sale. What about repeat customers? What about referrals? What are we doing there? You guys have any strategies you're enacting?
The repeat one was actually something Joshua really started honing in on like 6 months ago, because what better resource for revenue than people that have already spent their hard-earned money with you. We are Drip Jobs customers, so their blast feature that's on there, every single customer in your deal, you can target past projects, never did a project, and those kind of categories, and reaching out to the ones that you've already done work for. It generated some for us. It wasn't like a huge spike, but it was in a year where every little bit kind of helped. It was definitely a resource. I was glad Joshua thought about, whenever he did.
I just say,
Brandon, if there was one thing I could probably do better early on, it would have been develop a system to stay top of mind with my customers. When you're moving and grooving early on, like me, and I held the paintbrush in my hand and I was building this thing by myself, those things fell to the wayside. But now I recognize how important that is, right? So, having that touch point where you're reaching out to your past customers. And I say this knowing that if you are a small company, it can be difficult to do that, right? Thankfully, now we have some automations, like we mentioned, drip jobs and things like that can help you do that. But, my advice to anyone getting started would be to start those type of processes early on. Staying in contact with those past clients is like golden, right? You want those referrals. When they refer you, it's usually a high close rate. It's usually a potential customer that is similar to them, right? So now, of course, we can do things like reactivation campaigns. This week we're going to be delivering our cookie cans to some of our top clients, right? We have 1 gallon empty cookie cans that we put a no drip label on, and then we take some like gourmet cookies and drop them off to folks. So there's things that you can do, but I would say for me personally, I certainly missed the mark early on leveraging those customers who had a great experience. So yeah, I think that's an important component of all this.
Michael, did we run a reactivation campaign for you this quarter?
Yeah, so this was really the first year that we have done it on a grand scale. Brandon is my marketing team. And so we did a reactivation campaign. We did it right before Thanksgiving. And so what that looked like for us was sending out emails and text messages to our contact list. And as we move forward, we're going to do more things, right? We might also, end up sending a mailer to those folks. So we've got an entire plan for 2025, but even just a simple email, text message, or phone call, right? Sometimes I think we don't do the things that we should be doing, but also we don't do the things that might be a bit more uncomfortable. I experimented with this last year, and I hired a few ladies to come into the office and just, I'm going to say cold call, but technically it was a warm call, my entire contact list, right? We don't do that enough. And it worked out. And actually one of those ladies ended up coming on board for our full-time admin. But doing those things, staying top of mind, I mean, that's really where the gold is. And it's the most inexpensive way to do it, right? They already know, like, and trust you. They've already, used your service, but sometimes you need to remind them who you are. I'll give you an example of this. It's not uncommon for us to paint an interior, and then they say to us, "Do you guys do exterior painting?" And to us, that seems so crazy, right? Yes, we'll paint anything. You want us to paint your cat? We'll paint your cat. Just kidding. I don't know if there's a paint for that. But the point is that sometimes people just don't know. So you just need to remind them. And I would start with the people who already have got a rapport with you and go from there. To me, that's where really the magic is.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh,
Yeah, one of the things. But go ahead, Zach.
And that's the most powerful part of social media. And when you can get that follow from your client, like, that's our lifeblood, is our clients follow us, and now they have a tool to refer us that is so much more sticky than maybe a business card or maybe just a phone number. Because, like I said, most people are following for extended periods of time before they call. You just got to get that follow. And if Miss Jones loves the paint job you did, and she can show her friend her house being painted on your social media, the process, now she can send it to her friend follows, forgets about us, but we just keep coming up. It's a really powerful feedback loop.
Yeah, I love that. So we rolled out a reactivation campaign this quarter for a lot of our partners. It's a phenomenal way to fill your calendar when leads are expensive, when the trust issue is more difficult because people are more reticent to make that purchase. Who trusts you the most? People that have already done business with you, that have already had a good experience. You're very likely to close them. Your profit margin is likely to be high. It's a great way to reach out, and I don't see a lot of painting companies do it, which is why we're offering the offer that we are at this event. Another thing to keep in mind is people need painting projects. The average homeowner needs a painting project every 2.5 years, right? So every 2.5 or 3 years, they're going to need a painting project, but so many companies treat it like it's a one and done. They got this painting project, I guess they're set for life. Never need to worry about that one again. And then you have to go fight. Because like Michael said, they're not going to remember you. They're really not. They're not going to remember you 6 months later. They're certainly not going to remember you 2.5 years later. So now you're back in the market fighting again for the same lead. just like Mr. Company A, B, and C, who have never worked for them before. When it shouldn't happen, like Zach's saying, you were top of mind for them. You don't have to be a social media influencer, but you were top of mind for them with your messaging. You were adding value. They know exactly who you are, and they probably reached out to you for the next painting project. Now your cost per lead is 0, and you're closing it, and it's a high profit margin. That's how you build an asset. That's how you build a killer company long term. Who else has thoughts here on a repeat referral business?
Brandon, I'll jump in. We did the same reactivation campaign with you, and since it's part of our package with you, doing it didn't cost us anything. You did encourage us to put a little give in there, and the give we offer is just a $50 gift card, and the other benefit to that is we use our Amex points to get those gift cards. So it really wasn't any cash outlay to try and reactivate those customers. It just makes sense.
I love it.
One thing that we do to try to reactivate them is we have different programs. This year we had a 10% rebate on anything they spent in the summer period up to $1,000. And then we reached out to everybody who did work for us this past summer, and a lot of them got on the schedule for projects. A lot of them had $500-$600 rebates, and they would end up adding on $2,000 worth of winter interior work. Last year we did free bedroom paintings for charity and for previous customers. We reach out to everybody being like, hey, we'll come and paint a room in your house for free. On average, we kept a lot of people busy, and we made a little bit of money off of that program because of upsells. So there's a lot of things that you can do outside the box to try to get winter work and reactivate those customers.
Love it. So I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. So I have a Painter Marketing Pros has a marketing column now in APC magazine. I haven't actually announced that publicly. So super excited for that. You guys, if you haven't received the magazine for November, December, you'll see our first marketing column in that. It'll be coming out every time. It's called Painter's Playbook. But Garrett, our first article was about direct mail. We're going to be leaning into that, moving some offline in 2025 to provide more holistic marketing. But I went back, and you and I had connected, I think, for an hour, and you had kind of walked me through how you do it, how you do what you do. And you said percentage discounts typically work better for direct mail than dollar value. And I remember we talked about the 10 versus 15, because I told you I had read this book, Thinking Fast and Slow. We talked about 15% works better than 10. You said you were going to try it. Did you try the 15?
Yeah, we bounce back and forth between discounts. The 15 is a staple for us. You know, we run it probably more than we should, but it always works. It always has provided a consistent return on investment over direct mail. And I've tried a lot of different offers, and I love the 15% off in the nice weather, 25% off in the winter weather. You always have a different special, so people don't think that it's just like a forever special. But we've tested out doing that. We tested out doing no promotion, thinking it was going to increase sales ratios and create better customers, and it did not. It actually did the inverse effect. You know, we actually had a little bit lower sales ratio and a greatly diminished response rate. So I love the 15% off. I'm a huge fan of it.
Interesting. All right, I want to open it up for people to come on and ask questions. So raise your hand. We'll pull you in. While we're waiting on that, I just want to get anyone's thoughts. Obviously, there's labor and there's leads. Used to be labor was challenging a couple of years back. Now leads is kind of, the pendulum has swung a little bit. You guys have any great hiring techniques for finding good talent, whether it's subcontractors or employees, and maybe how you motivate your team, retain them, and get them to perform?
Well, as far as retaining goes, we do something we call a stay interview, and with every employee once a year during their annual review, and we try to get to know them throughout the year. But what we do is we ask questions like, what makes you want to come to work every day? What would make you one day want to leave? Is there anything from a manager that you're not currently getting? And we ask a handful of questions like that to try to really understand our employees, know what they're looking for, get their opinion, and then we can make sure to keep everyone happy. And because of that, we've had a almost perfect retention rate in our company. We usually have maybe one employee turnover per year. We almost never lose any subcontractors. We've been able to retain a team, which is really helpful for growing and sustaining quality and maintaining that experience. So definitely invest into your employees, do lots of good company events, like don't shy away from, making sure that they're treated fairly, and it'll go a long way.
Yeah, I will say, having seen Garrett's company culture, it's pretty special.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, one of the questions I'll ask people who are interviewing with us is what makes you happy at a company? What makes you unhappy at a company? Why should I hire you? Why should I not hire you? And I find when you kind of put all those together, you get kind of a pretty interesting data matrix there. I think Amir, I think we have you in if you want to ask your question.
Hey, yes, sir. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for all this valuable content. God bless you all. Appreciate it a lot. Real quick, Garrett, you said that you have app or a tool that you use to show them your reviews like on a map. What was that called? I missed that. I'm sorry.
Project Map It. You have to manually, you have to upload a list of your previous customers. It'll sync all the data points on a map. You have to sync your reviews and connect them to those data points. And you can add pictures if you want. It is a decent amount of work, but it's super helpful. I highly recommend it, especially if you've done a lot of work in the area that you're trying to do business.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And I don't know if it says it on there, but we're with Paint and Rollers. We share the market with Michael, No Drip. What's up, No Drip?
Yeah. Hey.
No drips going to 10 million, Amir.
Let's go.
You're
We're going with her. Let's go. Is that
love
through cryptocurrency or through painting or both?
10 million painting, 10 million crypto. So it'll be 20.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Adam, my brother's name is Adam. We'll see you guys at the PCA, God willing.
Amazing.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Amir. Thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks for your question. All right, we got Cornelius. You are up. If you guys have a question, just raise your hand.
You're
Cornelius,
muted.
you are on mute. All right, Edwin, you are up while Cornelius figures that out. Edwin, let's have you ask your question.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for all your advices or your knowledge. I know Garrett mentioned that all he have is employees, but I guess some of you guys have subcontractors. All of you guys I have been talking about customer, but on the Denver market, here there is a lot of competitors. Maybe you have some strategies for keep your subcontractor with you. I mean, here is something happening a lot. Is you have subcontractors and maybe another company start offering more money or something more, and then they go with another company. It's try to getting hard because it's hard to keep with you, or maybe they try to offer things to your customer or things like that. What strategy do you use for keep your subcontractor like
I think I think that's great, Edwin. So if competitors are trying to use your subs, if maybe customers are trying to work with them directly, how do you actually retain that relationship?
retain the relationship? Exactly. That's
Yeah.
the term.
Yep.
So
Brandon, I'd like
we
to
use.
offer something for this one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Garrett.
You're okay.
But, I think we sometimes forget that we still have to have a strong hiring process for subcontractors. You still have to find people that align with your values and your mission, right? I think that's the first piece of the puzzle that we let fly under the radar when we think about subcontractors. The other piece of it is that you have to treat people well. And treating someone well, of course, there's a price you need to pay, right? People need to have a livable wage, whatever that is. You've got to pay people what they deserve, but also you've got to just treat people well, right? And I'll give you just a quick example of what I mean by this. we have by the way, we have a split model with employees and subcontractors. But there, about a year ago, we found out that one of our subcontractors who relocated from out of state and had been working with us, that they had 5 family members in their house and they were all sleeping on air mattresses, right? And I will give this credit to my team because this had nothing to do with me. Well, my team found out about this and they posted on Facebook, we need 5 new mattresses. And within 24 hours, they gathered new mattresses and had them delivered to the home of our team. And that is us showing that we care, right? Now, they are with us. They are committed to us because we are committed to them. That is a relationship. There is a bond there because we show up for them and they show up for us, right? The pay has less to do with it when you have a relationship like that. And so I would encourage you to ask yourself, why would someone even want to work for me? Right? That's the question. And it doesn't matter whether they're an employer or a subcontractor. We need them, they need us. You know, when we talk to our team, especially subcontractors, the message is we need you to be successful. We need you to feel like you're taken care of, like you're part of our team, and we need the same, right? It is a team effort here. And then the business side of it, I will say, is always be open to have a transparent conversation. If someone is struggling because they're not getting paid, if it really is about pay, have this open door policy where they feel comfortable to come in and talk to you about it, right? Because you don't want to lose someone over dollars. You want to treat someone well, and that's how you gain their loyalty. And I mean, that's what we all want, right? This is about treating people with respect and dignity. And of course, you got to pay people to live the life and achieve the goals that they want for their life.
I couldn't agree more, Michael, and I completely agree with everything you said. The one thing I will add is that most of our subs, they just want to stay busy. So we use a very simple calendar, Google Calendar app, and they all have access to our calendar. They know exactly how far we have them booked out, where they're booked at, what the project is. And if we get within a week of not having something for them, we're telling them, we don't have something for you in the upcoming week. Yeah. Please be looking, please be asking around. Most of them can get side work on pretty quick notice if they need to, but the minute we have something back for them, they see it on their calendar, they know they're coming back to us. So when we aren't able to keep them busy, we're communicating that as well so that they can get money coming in elsewhere.
We have, thanks for that question, Edwin. Appreciate you participating. Michael, we have a question from Michael Lejo. Go ahead, man. You're up. You are on mute. You are on mute again. You're good.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I just had a question. What do you guys look for in a salesperson? Like how is that process in interviewing someone that does sales?
That is a good question. So we look for outstanding people in general, but there's a lot of traits that make a good salesperson, and a lot of it depends upon your sales process. We look for people who are obviously personable, organized, detailed, because they also have to be able to estimate well and communicate expectations well. We don't have a hard close process, but we do have some awkward moments and some questions that you have to have someone with some assertiveness and someone with some competitive drive to actually push and try to win jobs. So I think it depends on your sales process and what you're looking for and your company culture.
I've adopted the Jason Phillips method, which is really leaning into DISC assessments. And you'll hear from Jason, and he's a wealth of knowledge, has an amazing team that does all kinds of training. But if you're not familiar with the DISC assessment, it basically, it's a test, it's an assessment that you can determine where someone falls in terms of, I guess it's kind of like a personality thing. But you're looking for certain traits, right? So, you know, in terms of a salesperson, you want someone with like a high D or a high I, right? That has been a good guide for me. It has taken a lot of the guesswork out of things, and it's a starting point, right? So you want to make sure that they lean towards the characteristics that make a good salesperson. But then I will tell you that everything comes back to aligning on company values. And I have learned a hard lesson on this. And as a result of learning a hard lesson and literally getting my heart broken in this business, as well as it being a huge detriment to the business, I have really made sure that we tell the world who No Drip Painting is. And that means who we are as people, who we align with in the world. And I know that this isn't everyone's, you know, not everyone looks upon this as a favorable way to do things, but I want people to know who we are. And the hope in that is that it detracts the people that don't align, but it absolutely welcomes the people that do align. And that has been a very good move for us because it brings people to the door and I don't have to go looking for them, right? Like it literally will call people into the business. And you know, I also just believe that when, you know, well, that our businesses are just a bigger reflection of who we are, right? All the good and the bad. But when we can really open up and stand in our true light and say, here's who we are as a business, here's who we support in the world, here's who we are calling into our business, you automatically attract like-minded people. I don't want to get too woo-woo, Brandon. You know, I have a tendency to go here, but you do too.
You balance it pretty well. I don't like if it gets too woo-woo, but I like your material.
But it's finding someone who fits a sales role, right? What are that person I was, that characteristic, but also the more important question is, do they align with your values and are they going to show up in the world that represents you and your business in the right way?
I would like to piggyback that. The value's huge. I would look within your company, make sure you don't have that salesperson already there, ready to put on a collared shirt instead of a white shirt, you know. That was our method. We're pretty big on the hiring from within, giving those opportunities within the company to those that are looking for the next rung on the ladder, and start there. The big advantage is if you are already employing them, they should have a real solid grasp on your values and understand what your company's about and the expectations. You're just introducing them to the new side of it, but it's the exact same values upheld throughout the company. So look within first. Always open that, put a bulletin out. I'm looking for, you know, whatever your painting company's name is, next salesperson, and it's a open applicant scenario. Anybody currently working here feel free to apply, and I'm going to start doing interviews on X date, whatever it is. Make sure you don't have that person already there.
Awesome. Yeah, I would encourage when you do that, especially depending on the size of your team, to also interview external applicants or kind of throw them all into one bucket. But as Cody's saying, do not neglect the team that you have. Cornelius, I think you're making another run here. Let's give you a shot at the title. So you are there we go.
Hey Brandon.
What's up,
Hey
man?
fellas and ladies, thank you very much for all the contribution you're making to us. Greatly appreciate it. So my question is for everyone on the panel, is what lead generation platform has yielded the best return this year? That's my question. Thank you.
That's a great question.
Maybe I'm a little biased, but for me, direct mail, every market I think is different in different ways. Direct mail kills it in my market. There's a lot of different strategies, but there's a lot of good strategies out there. You just have to really focus and develop them and, you know, not just throw a few dollars in and call it quits right away.
Yeah, that point's really important.
Yeah, the almighty Google, I feel like, has still prevails. We're pretty new to the Every Door Direct. That's a new campaign of ours, so we're still collecting data on that to track its success. But yeah, Google gets the phone to ring quite a bit.
Side note, Joshua, I wouldn't do every door direct mail. You can target homes for around the same price per piece, make it a lot easier on yourself, and you can increase your response rate. If you have any questions about that, just let me know and I can help you walk through it. But I always tell people avoid EDDM like the plague and direct mail.
Garrett, I don't know. I know I was
Good to
sending
know.
a lot of business your way, to the point that you wanted me to stop, because you do run a highly successful painting business. But if you're open to scaling that business, please feel free to provide people a little bit of information about that right now.
Yeah, so I am open to taking on new clients. I'm really a direct mail consultant. I help you kind of connect all the pieces, get the right strategy in place. I have a buyer's group with a fantastic vendor with really good negotiated prices. And I basically just kind of connect the dots. I help understand your strategy. There's multiple different avenues of direct mail that you can go and multiple different strategies. Like, you know, you could do targeted mass mailings where you're only targeting people above a certain home value or, you know, single family owner occupied units. You can target people around job sites you're doing, target new homeowners, target previous customers. You can hyper focus and target just 1,000 homes with like a direct custom piece. Lots of different options, usually around the mid 30s and then up depending on how well you target and different factors. But if anyone wants to talk to me, I just charge $500 for my services flat, connect you with the vendor, and they take you from there. Just a little pitch.
Love it. How can I get in contact with you, Garrett? You have an email they can send?
Yes. Yeah, it's garrett.twoday@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, shoot me a message, or text me at 262-473-9627.
Or come to your address at
yeah, knock on my door.
knock on my door anytime, day or night. No, Garrett, you've made yourself very accessible. Appreciate that, man. Guys, I have to wrap up this panel. We have Janelle Rodel of the PCA. She's going to be coming up. She's going to be offering a special offer, a special discount for PCA Expo attendees. I want to thank you all. Zach, Garrett, Michael, Josh, Cody, Sarah, thank you for participating in this panel. You are all thought leaders. You all run highly successful businesses. I value your time and I thank you for this. If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast. Hey there, painting company owners. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we did. And also, if you're interested in taking your painting business to the next level, make sure you visit the Painter Marketing Pros website at paintermarketingpros.com to learn more about our services. You can also reach out to me directly by emailing me at brandon@paintermarketingpros.com, and I can give you personalized advice on growing your painting business. Until next time, keep growing.